Welcome back, Soulful Society, to Soulful Wellness,
the multigenerational podcast brought to you by two functional imperfectionists
and certified coaches
who deliver tips to live your most authentic and balanced life.
This episode is dedicated to all people who have suffered from an quote-unquote invisible illness or who have had any sort of physical health struggle. I know it can be a long journey, very frustrating, feeling hopeless. I know this because I've been there. So today I'm going to share my personal health journey in hopes that if you can relate to this episode in any way or knew a loved one who could, that you'll learn that eventually you will be able to trust yourself and restore the relationship between you and your body. Know that you will heal over time, even if no one can give you answers first. Keep going and you'll find healing just like I did.
Today, Kaelynn and I are talking about the past 7 years of her life. This journey takes her from living in a quite unwell body through, 7 years of searching and hoping and guessing, but came out the other side. This is a story of health struggles, fear, and mind-body disconnection, but it's also a powerful message for your relationship with your body, inner knowing, self-advocacy, and perseverance.
Without further ado, we hope you enjoy our conversation about this and it spreads some awareness and sheds a little bit of light and gives you that hope that I know you might be desperately searching for, just like I was.
Let's get to it.
Here we go.
Thank you, Kaelynn, in advance for sharing your story with me and with the Soulful Society today. I know this isn't easy. As you said earlier, this is unexpectedly emotional for you.
Yeah.
Thank you for being willing to share this important story.
Thanks, Kit. Yeah, I don't know why I'm a little nervous, you guys, but I feel like my story is really important to share just in case it can help one of you get to that optimal well-being. So this all started in 2014, 2015, about January. I used to run as a form of exercise, and it was outside in the winter, and I don't even know how to describe it. I entered anaphylaxis. My body just gave up on me. My eyes started to swell. My face started to swell to the point where you couldn't recognize me. I had a close friend who had to take me to the ER, and that's where everything sort of went downhill with my health.
That sounds so scary.
It was terrifying. I had no idea what was going on in my body. I had no idea what triggered it. And through the course of my journey, no medical professional knew either. So there was such a lack of trust is like the main theme that was going on, and just pure fear all the time.
I can only imagine, because if you find out, I'm allergic to bees, I got stung by a bee, at least you know to focus your fear around bees.
Right.
But when you don't know what caused something to happen, you can't avoid everything in life. So what do?
The ER professionals looked at me. They gave me a shot in the leg. They gave me medicine, and it eventually went down. It took a few days for my face to get back to normal. And they looked at me and they said, I don't know. Just don't run in the cold.
So basically they found the thing that you happened to be doing at that moment and said, don't do that anymore.
Yep.
But with no real reason that was the cause other than you happened to be doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And so then over the course of the next few months, I started to experience extreme stomach pain, distension, and bloat to the point where it looked like I was pregnant. Not even kidding. It was crazy. My friends and I used to joke and nickname my bloat. That's how consistent I could rely on that bloat to show up no matter what. and I was always in pain. I was really allergic. I was on antibiotics for 7 months in college, or the college campus doctors prescribed me steroids and antibiotics for sinus infections. It was just a shitstorm of sickness.
It sounds like your body's saying, no, we're for real. We're going to do something that you cannot ignore. We're going to keep telling you there's really something here until you respond.
Right. And I do want to add that I was a college student at this time, and my main priority was my social life. I only cared about that. So, at the detriment of my health, I prioritized my social life, and no one could really give me any answers anyways. It would just sort of be like, don't run in the cold. So I stopped exercising for over a year. I was just constantly afraid. And it would happen again and again, not from exercise over the years, and not in the winter. So I just continued to live in a constant state of fear.
So, were you canceling activities that you formerly enjoyed?
Yeah.
Anything you were doing when it
Yeah.
happened?
I have not snowboarded. I've not snowboarded since. I'm still afraid.
Because the effects are so severe that you're willing to forego an activity just to ensure that it won't happen again.
Yes.
Only it doesn't ensure.
I still get anxiety if girlfriends or JC, or if anyone's like, let's go on a skiing trip, let's go on a snowboarding trip. I think to myself, oh God, I got to renew my EpiPen just in case. It's just a lot of mystery.
Then take us forward in time.
I wanted to actively do what it was going to take to figure out what was wrong so I could make steps towards healing. And that started to occur my senior year of college and after. I saw over 9 specialists, to name a few: 2 gastroenterologists, an ENT, 2 allergists, an endocrinologist. The list goes on and on. And I would leave these appointments in tears, crying, calling my parents, just absolutely a mess, because they would say I would spend hours and money and time visiting these doctors' offices and waiting for weeks. Oh, what's the result going to be? Maybe this is the doctor who's going to tell me what's wrong. And time again over the course of years, no answers. They would tell me everything looks normal.
Of course, that was upsetting. It was like a roller coaster of getting your hopes up with each new
Absolutely.
procedure. And mind you, medical procedures are invasive.
Yeah.
This isn't just a casual conversation with a doctor.
No.
I know they were running tests on you. They were poking you and prodding you. And each time you're thinking, okay, it'll all be worth it if this doctor at least gives me a name. I can research it. We can have a plan to restore health, to get back to this healthy state.
Right. It was very uncomfortable physically, all these different tests they were running. I was so desperate. And I feel like looking back, I need to have self-compassion. I was so desperate. I would research myself. I would self-diagnose. I would buy these at-home test kits for allergies, for food sensitivities that were honestly bullshit and didn't help at all.
You're wasting your money.
Yeah.
And I know exactly the kind of thing you're describing here, because we all see ads for them all the time. They're always pretty affordable. They're always like $29.95 or something that, isn't that big a deal. You're like, well, if it's really just a matter of sending you my $29.95, it's worth it because I'm going to get some information. Okay, people, they're not going to give you any information these doctors haven't already tried to find for you. But you can see the state people get into, the desperation of just wanting some information, some actionable steps to take.
Just answers.
That you're willing to try anything.
Yeah, I felt extremely hopeless and very helpless. I was constantly in pain and discomfort and so sick. And these doctors just kept telling me, well, everything looks good. Everything looks fine.
Everyone's telling you everything's fine. Blood work's fine. Levels are fine. Organ function is just fine. But then you're in physical pain regularly.
I remember one time my friends and I hosted a party at our house, and I was in so much pain in my stomach that I snuck up to my bed and curled up in a ball for an hour, just in pain.
Listening to the party in your own house happening,
Yeah. Yeah.
kind of willing yourself to be virtually part of the party from your bed.
Right. I used to carry Benadryl in my wallet at all times. I'm like, well,
Hmm.
just in case. I never know when it's going to happen because these episodes would start to happen not exercising in the cold. They'd happen in the summer randomly. They'd happen all over the place. So
I know that fear had to feel consuming at times.
I think for those of you out there who have an autoimmune disease, it is really tough to live with an invisible disease because you can be walking around, going to social events, living your life, and nobody knows your struggle. Like nobody can, if they can't see it, maybe they don't empathize with it or they forget that you are suffering. So that can be a huge challenge. I understand that.
And if you have doctors telling you you're just fine, but you don't feel fine, how do you reconcile that with life responsibilities like going to your job and performing at a high level all day, every day, and social situations? And if you need to cancel last minute on things, there's this perception of people think I'm making this up or people think I'm embellishing. And in your heart of hearts, you know you're not, but that's just added worry on top of what you're already going through. That's a message to all of us that we need to have compassion for the plight of others and what they're going through and not place our own perspective onto their experiences.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And you finally start to take a different route in your searches for answers.
So it was 5 years of suffering and being told you're fine and all that. I was about probably 24, 25 when, luck of the draw, I had heard my mom's friend was going through similar stomach issues with that distension where you look like you're pregnant. Like that's how bloated you are all the time. And so I desperately wanted to know. I heard she was on a healing journey and I'm like, who is she working with? And I found out she was working with this wonderful local nutritionist who is a functional nutritionist, which really just means taking a natural approach and also a holistic approach. So looking at the different areas of your life, emotionally, physically, and spiritually to figure out, how to help you heal. So I met with her and she realized that I needed a specific set of people to help me out. I needed people, a practice who had the proper tools and the proper testing. So she could help me after I was tested, but I needed to go get tested. I found through her a practice called Capital Integrative Health here in Bethesda, Maryland. They are a holistic medicine practice. They changed my life. I didn't give up on myself. I knew I needed to go a different route. And I did. And I was there basically in tears, just so desperate.
Right.
And so desperate to hear someone tell me you're not crazy.
Right. Right.
Like,
You're
you're not
not just
crazy.
fine.
Yeah, you're not just fine. And so luckily through the right testing, they had different, more expansive blood panels and different testing that looked into that different things at a more granular view of really what was going on in the body.
And at this point, you were able to get an actual diagnosis, which, as much as you want to hear that you're fine, when you know you're not fine, hearing an actual name for a diagnosis must come as somewhat of a relief, right?
I know it was so bad because all those years I was like, I just want a diagnosis. I just want a diagnosis. And my parents are trying to encourage me saying, well, that's good that everything's, you don't have a diagnosis. But so they were able to diagnose me with SIBO, which is small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. Also an autoimmune disease, Hashimoto's thyroiditis. And also they discovered I was a victim of toxic mold burden. So safe to say, just a total mess. But so validating to hear that, they've treated this before, they've seen this and they know how to help me. And although it's a long, drawn out process and it's not always linear because every patient, every human, every body is different,
Right.
at least they knew what ball game we were in
Hmm.
and we could get started on the healing journey.
Which I'm sure was the best news you could have received at that point.
Yeah, and you're still at a point where, it's a slow process, right? So you're still in pain, you're still suffering, but to hear that you're not crazy is just the biggest relief. And honestly, that is why I stress do not give up, be your own self advocate, because that was the turning point for my
Hmm.
healing journey. I was
Yes.
like, oh my God, we can actually work towards something. And although it does require a ton of patience and self compassion because it's not a linear journey, like healing is never. I do want to stress that. It's all in the baby steps, but I'm telling you, if you just keep doing the hard work, it'll get somewhere and you'll be rewarded. So I just needed the guidance. I was so desperate. I was like, just tell me what to do.
Throughout this process, you stuck to your belief that you were the expert in you. Doctors are experts in their area of expertise, but they're not an expert in you. And they can't know what you're going through. They can only know as good as you can explain it to them, which is imperfect at best. But you stuck to your guns. You knew
Hmm.
there was something wrong. Even though there were times where you were defeated or you felt desperate, you didn't give up. You kept looking for the help you needed and you finally got it. That had to be validating and the first step in restoring the relationship between you and your body, because you and your body's relationship was at a rock bottom.
Absolutely. Oh,
You didn't trust your body was angry as hell at you,
horrible.
and you guys had to rebuild together, quite literally, really.
Yeah. 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 And I forgot to mention, I was diagnosed with adrenal fatigue, which we're still treating. So it was so validating for, my practitioner to go over my lab results, point to it and show me exactly why it's hard to get up in the morning, exactly why I've had chronic fatigue and exactly what we can do to help treat that when the endocrinologist is like everything's fine. So,
Right,
and
right.
I'm not against normal medicine. That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm just sharing my journey.
Course. It all works in conjunction. And sometimes you need more, and obviously you needed more than the traditional Western medicine route.
Yeah. Absolutely. The moral of the journey that I've been through, the moral of the story and telling you this is to encourage you to not give up on yourself and to listen to yourself. I mean, I would say listen to your body, but me and my body had such a fucked up relationship. I did not know what it was trying to tell me. I was like, I know you're screaming at me, but
Yeah.
I'm so frustrated because I don't know what you're trying to tell me. Like, I'll do it, I'll try and help you, but I don't know what you're saying. So to have someone come in and validate and tell me this is what your body's saying, this is why it's screaming, here's the root cause. The term leaky gut is out there a lot. And I came in saying, I think I have XYZ, and they're like, okay, take a step back, like we're gonna look into this. Leaky gut apparently is a very pervasive
Yeah.
term, but it's a result of other issues in the body. And the autoimmune disease that I incurred was the allergies was a result of the autoimmune. So it's just so interesting to be able to learn more about the body and learn more about why your body's experiencing these things. And so I want to say there is an expert out there who's going to work with you, who you're going to find that will genuinely help you on your healing journey. And then all you have to do is the hard work that comes with that.
Yeah, this is the part where
I,
it would be so great to say, and then it's living happily and easily ever after.
the end.
But no, I just use the example. We were out at dinner a week ago, and four of us got popovers. If you've never had a popover, you should find a French restaurant and have one because they're delicious. But Kaelynn was the fourth at that table, and she did not get a popover because it is not on the list of ingredients that her body can tolerate at this point. So I'm sure, Kaelynn, that had to be challenging watching all of us enjoy our appetizer, and you're kind of like, okay, well, I don't get that, but let's just have some nice conversation anyway. Like, it's not easy.
Well, I gotta say, these things are definitely difficult at first, but when your practitioner is telling you why, because I used to cheat a lot at these diets when they'd say gluten free, dairy free, like it's so good for you. I'm like, okay. And I would just cheat a lot and be like, it's fine, and then be a pain. But when she was able to explain the why, gluten has a very similar molecular structure to your thyroid cells. They sort of look a little bit similar in the body, and your body starts to boil it down. When your body starts to attack your thyroid when you eat gluten and you get all these crazy flare ups, I was able to say, okay, I'm motivated. I understand now why temporarily I cannot eat these foods because of what it's going to do to my body. Obviously, when someone's telling you you can't eat XYZ, we've talked about this a few weeks ago, you're going to want to do it. But I think the motivation came from sort of the wanting to heal, but also the reason why.
That makes so much sense.
Yeah.
When it's really, this is what it does when you eat this, it makes you want to eat it less, not more, as opposed to the arbitrary ban that I would argue makes me want to do things more. But if you
Yeah.
really understand, you're right, then you can get on board with it. It's not some
Yeah.
random ban on certain foods.
So I've been on this healing journey for almost 2 years now, and I want to say, like, it's definitely not linear. There's slip ups, there's times that suck, but at the end of the day, I am light years away from where I was. That girl who was in the ER,
Yeah.
so frustrated. Like, I'm so relieved to say I've come such a long way. I've had a lot of people ask me, "How did you transform your body? Like, why do you seem so radiant?"
Right. Like people who weren't privy to all the parts of the journey, people who saw you and then maybe didn't see you for another 6 months or a year, and they don't realize what you've gone through.
Yeah, I had a lot of people ask me, like, "Oh my god, like, how do you look like that?" And honestly, the answer was finding the right treatment plan, finding the diagnosis to be able to heal my diseases.
Yeah.
Bottom line, it's just like, that's it.
Yeah. Cliff note version,
Yeah.
I got healthy.
I got healthy. I got help to heal my diseases.
Yes.
The body you were seeing was a suffering human.
Was a unwell person
Yeah.
living in the body that was unhealthy,
Yeah.
that wasn't meant to be your body. That was your body screaming at you, trying to send you the clearest signals that could send. And when they don't see you, and then fast forward a year and they see you looking markedly different, they think, oh, what's the secret? People always want the secret. Oh, the secret is I slept an extra hour a night. Like,
No, there's
bingo,
no,
great, I'll do that too.
the secret is that I had so many illnesses going on, a
Hmm.
full-blown autoimmune disease.
Hmm.
That's the secret, is that I found that out and got treatment.
Yeah,
And I'm still in treatment for that.
right.
So I'm happy to report I am light years away from where I was before. I'm so relieved, so grateful, and am continually motivated to keep going and to
Hmm.
keep working with my practitioner until I get to a point where my organs are optimally functioning and very happy with me.
That has aligned with or even become your passion. And I think that is a quite natural extension of the ordeal you went through. When you come out the other side, you want to help other people be able to come out the other side as well.
Oh my God, absolutely. I don't want anyone to experience what I experienced. I don't want anyone to feel that level of, like, oh,
Right.
despair, straight up despair, desperation, and just the trauma of just you and your body not being in sync
Hmm.
and having no idea what why your body's screaming at you. Like, I just want to help anyone not experience that, or if they are experiencing that, to help them realize, like, there is help, there is
Hmm.
hope, and there's healing waiting for you. I promise.
And how to go through the process with as much grace to yourself as possible. You were going through something and you were doing the best you can. So having that grace to yourself, and we as coaches being able to help people going through a difficult time to treat themselves well and handle the hardships with grace.
Don't give up. There's healing on the other side. There's the right person out there to help you, and you are not crazy.
Have perseverance and advocate for yourself. You're the expert in you.
If you haven't already, please hit that plus button in the right-hand corner to quote unquote follow us, which is the new subscribe. Either that or please leave us a rating and review, or tell a friend about Soulful of Wellness so they can receive their weekly dose of wellness goodness.
Thank you for listening. Have a wonderful week. Peace, love, and light.
Peace, love, and light.
The Soulful of Wellness hosts are certified health and wellness coaches. This podcast is intended to inform and entertain listeners on their wellness journey. This podcast is meant to enhance, not replace, listeners' care from doctors, therapists, or other medical providers. Soulful.